Well, hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good Tuesday. Today, I was just thinking about the relationship between our physical body and our emotions. So, today, this is what I'm going to call a coaching moment. And we're going to look a little bit at our well being, our mental health, our emotional health. And one of the areas in which we ignore a lot in when we talk about mental health, when we talk about thriving as opposed to just surviving in life, is the relationship we have with our body. You know, our body expresses our emotions to the world around us. That's what we call body language. Probably you've met someone who the way they express themselves, the look on their face, the way they act, is contrary to the words coming out of their mouth. That's because there's a bit of a breakdown between how they relate to between their emotions and their body. Also, we know that our physiology can affect our emotions. For example, there are certain mental health issues, depression, different types of mental health problems that are chemical imbalances in the brain. That's part of our physical body. And so there's a big link between the body and our emotions. Now, in the world we live in today, there's a bit of a breakdown in this. Without trying to be too philosophical, the way we live today is highly influenced by what was ancient Greek culture and ancient Greek philosophy, which sort of divided up the emotional dimension in the body, divided up the material from the immaterial, not a lot of duality. But if we were to go back further in history to the ancient Hebrews, or even in Chinese culture, we see the integration of the emotional life with our physiology. In fact, there are still some nations in the world today that if you go to a doctor's appointment, the doctor doesn't just examine your physical situation, but will ask you about how you're doing mentally and emotionally, how your relationships are with the people around you. They have more of a holistic view on well-being. And so there's an integration between our body and our emotions. And our body can help us understand things about our emotional life. Anger can show up in our body, not just becoming red in the face. I know stories of people who've said when they get angry, their arms get hot, or when they have a sense of guilt or remorse, they feel a pain in their body. I know I've heard of people talking about when they feel fear, it's like a bad sensation in their stomach, almost like getting stomach sick. There is a connection between our body and our emotions. So what do we do to start to look at this? Well, we have to start to create awareness. We have to start to observe what's going on in our physical body. And many times, things that happen to us physically can help us understand what's going on in our emotional world. So one of the key things to creating awareness, I want to suggest today, is the power of stillness and silence. The ability, some psychologists would call this mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is not a new age thing. It's not a hippie thing. It's not even something that's overly spiritual. It's about practicing breathing exercises that calm our body down, that get us to focus on the present and help us become aware of what's going on with us physiologically. For example, you could be doing breathing exercises, and maybe you have complete silence in your house, but you hear a bird chirping. Well, when you're practicing mindfulness, you're not trying to ignore anything, but if you hear a bird chirping, well, you just focus on the bird chirping. Because the idea is it calms your mind down, it gets you to stop obsessing about the future or ruminating on the past, and it brings you into the present and relaxes you. And so when you're in that relaxed state of stillness, of quietness, you can begin to just become aware. Is there pains in my body? Am I uncomfortable with silence? People who generally are uncomfortable with silence generally have a hard time creating self-awareness, because it's in silence and quietness and the ability to look at ourselves that we create self-awareness. Is there anything that's happening to me physically that doesn't want to allow me to stay sitting in the one place? So as we look at that and we analyze that, we become aware of things going on in our bodies. And through understanding any discomfort in our bodies, from there we can stop and look at, okay, is this Is this an emotional issue? Is this anxiety? If it's anxiety, what is it that I'm anxious about? And from there, you can start to find healthy solutions. So one of the keys to emotional health and becoming emotionally intelligent is having a good relationship with your body. You know, even in the Christian faith, this is something that we neglect, but it's very biblical. When Paul said to renew your mind in Romans 12, he starts off by saying in verse 1, present your body as a living sacrifice. So that tells me there are certain disciplines and things you can do physically to help in the process of the renewing of your mind. Because when we have a healthy awareness of our bodies and what's going on physically within us, we can become more aware of what's going on the inside of us in our emotional world. So I want to encourage you today to integrate quietness and moments of silence in your life and practice becoming aware of what's happening in you physically. And that can open the door to understanding more about what's going on in you emotionally. And that can help you have a greater sense of emotional awareness. Depending on what trauma may be in your life, maybe when you become more aware of certain emotional issues, you may need to process that with a mental health care provider, with a psychologist, with a therapist, and that's fine. But the first step today is about creating awareness. So I want to encourage you today to embrace stillness and to embrace a healthy observation of what's going on in your body and allow it to open the door to learning more about your emotional health.